For 979 days, Russia has waged a brutal, full-scale war against a fellow UN member state and its people. And with each passing day, as Russia suffers immense losses, the Kremlin has grown increasingly desperate. Inviting North Korea to join its war would be a brazen escalation of Russia's aggression and a threat to global safety and security. The United States has seen additional reporting indicating that North Korean soldiers have started arriving in Western Russia. We believe the DPRK has sent around 10,000 soldiers to train in Eastern Russia, and that they will probably augment Russian forces near Ukraine in the next several weeks. A portion of those soldiers have already moved closer to Ukraine. We are increasingly concerned Russia intends to use these soldiers in combat or to support combat operations against Ukrainian forces in Russia's Kursk Oblast near the border with Ukraine. We are watching closely for such indications and consulting with our Ukrainian partners. We urge Russia not to take these steps. Should DPRK soldiers be used in the battlefield, this would mark a further and serious escalation of the conflict. The decision to deploy North Korean soldiers would also be an inescapably clear demonstration that Russia is growing more desperate, having already suffered more than 500,000 casualties. Russia knows the DPRK threatens peace and security in the region. The Kremlin knows the DPRK's unlawful ballistic missile and nuclear weapons programs undermine the non-proliferation regime that has helped to keep the world safe from nuclear war for decades. Russia knows the DPRK is a pariah with one of the world's worst human rights records. Russia would not turn to the DPRK for a military alliance unless it were desperate and had run out of options. Madam President, just a few years ago, Russia supported multiple Security Council resolutions prohibiting both arms transfers involving North Korea and provision of military assistance to North Korea. Russia's training of DPRK soldiers involving arms or related materiel is a violation of Security Council resolutions 1718, 1874, and 2270. Each of those resolutions imposed restrictions on military cooperation with the DPRK because the DPRK's actions, including its unlawful nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs, threaten peace and security. Now, Moscow is not only engaging in both of those activities to support its unprovoked war, but has signed a mutual defense agreement with Pyongyang. This council, including the Russian Federation, also imposed arms embargoes on Iran and the DPRK to deter those countries' unlawful weapons of mass destruction programs. We question what Russia must be giving to the DPRK and Iran in return for their assistance. At a minimum, we know Russia is blocking the DPRK Sanctions Committee from operating. That committee is a safeguard against the DPRK's development of nuclear weapons. Russia's increasing military dependence on Iran and the DPRK is endangering the world, particularly by increasing DPRK and Iran's ability to threaten the Indo-Pacific and the Middle East on a catastrophic level. Russia must stop. It is not too late for Russia to reverse its illegal and dangerous course and end the war. It is not too late for Russia to withdraw its troops from Ukraine, rejoin the world community, and begin to repair its global standing. Absent Russia's will, the international community must act to protect Ukraine from Russia and North Korea. A North Korean-backed Russian victory in Ukraine, even a partial one, would dangerously destabilize the world. So let me be clear. Even with the addition of North Korean troops, Russian forces will not prevail against Ukraine. We will stand with Ukraine. We will stand with the Charter. We will stand with the rule-based system and the principles that keep us safe. We will protect them, whatever it takes. Our resolve is firm. Have no doubt. There is only one safe solution to Russia's aggression: its complete withdrawal from Ukraine. Thank you, Madam President.
I now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Madam President, when we found out about the request for this meeting today in the Security Council, we were taken aback by the cynicism and the brazen attitude of our Western colleagues and the egregious double standards. We understand very well that the situation on the front for the Zelensky regime is a catastrophic one, especially after its hapless adventure in Kursk, which led to the collapse of the Ukrainian armed forces positions in Donbass, so much so that its Western mentors decided to obscure this unfavorable foil, which could affect the opinion of voters in these countries. But we thought that even for them, who have been using evidence in the line of highly likely, that they have limits when it comes to pushing open disinformation. Turns out there aren't any limits, and Washington, London and company have reached a new low today. It was said at one point in this room that we dismantle washing machines and other appliances to get at the microchips because we only had enough missiles for 1 or 2 days. Then we heard statements that we violate babies with spoons, catch people on the streets because no one wants to go fighting. Bucha, Kramatorsk, Mariupol, the Transfiguration Cathedral in Odessa, all were barefaced lies disseminated so as to tarnish the Russian armed forces, and they will become textbook examples in textbooks on disinformation and propaganda, as they became common in crude provocations by the West used so as to cover up the crimes of their collaborators in Kiev. I would like to thank the Ambassador Woodward for her care for the Russian budget. She used the expression empowered Russia. And I would like to invite the permanent representative of the UK to Russia so that it can see things for herself. But I fear that what you will see will disappoint you, because your characteristics are out of line with reality. Now, given the statements about the North Korean soldiers on our front should not surprise no one, because they all barefaced lies and they're trying to distract from truly significant problems that threaten international peace and security. And we see that again when we listen to the lamentations by the US and satellites. And the performance today has one goal: to try and post factum justify their own decision to send NATO troops so as to shore up the regime of the outdated dictator in Kiev. Covering up the facts that there are NATO soldiers and specialists on the territories under the control of the Kiev regime, regardless of what their guise, has become impossible. Foreigners are being destroyed by the dozen and hundreds every day. They're taken prisoners. They're in videos amongst the UAF soldiers. There are frequent obituaries for the high-ranking officers or specialists who supposedly tragically perished when they were walking in mountains or had a heart attack, whereas in actual fact they were eliminated or together with the command posts or training bases or military factories in Ukraine. We also know that the hysterics surrounding the North Korean topic miraculously coincide with Mr. Zelensky signing a decree according to which foreigners are allowed to serve in UAF at commanding positions. I'm not even going to talk here about the continued pumping of the Kiev regime with weapons and intelligence, without which Zelensky cannot and the clique can no longer fight. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But I just want to put one question to you. Even if everything that's being said about the cooperation between Russia and North Korea by our Western colleagues is true, why is it that the United States and allies are trying to impose on everyone the flawed logic that they have the right to help the Zelensky regime mobilize apologize for that, the military and intelligence of NATO, and Russian allies have no right to do a similar thing. Ladies and gentlemen, where do you get this neo-colonial feeling of your own exceptionalism and impunity, and your belief that what you're allowed to do, others are prohibited from undertaking? We know your misleading narrative stating that Ukraine is a victim and Russia is the aggressor. It only works for those who have no idea of the background of the Ukrainian crisis or simply do not want to know what it is. But all of our reasonable and sensible colleagues understand that our special military operation in Ukraine would never have happened if the Kiev regime, after the Maidan coup staged by the West, had not started a war against the civilians at Donbass, and then, after they were pushed back, they hadn't sabotaged the Minsk agreements enshrined by the Security Council. You can see what kind of victim Ukraine is in August, when the Zelensky gangs unprovoked attacked the Russian border region. And the internet is full of evidence of these bandits in uniform, their attacks against civilians, women and children, civilian cars, ambulances, their rapes, their lootings, destructions of houses and cattle. And the share of foreign mercenaries, Polish, American, British ones, by the way, is off the charts. Are these the people you're trying to present as victims of Russian aggression who have the right to self-defense? And these are the crimes, and the evidence for them was something that we demonstrated at the ARIA Formula meeting at the 25th of October. Your representatives came to with already prepared speeches, fully overlooking the reality they had just been shown. That was the pinnacle of cynicism. Colleagues, the payback for the reckless and fatal Cook's adventure by Zelensky has arrived. And you, ladies and gentlemen, should adapt your trite speeches and invent something else more refined. Otherwise, it's just not convincing. And distracting attention from the true face or the animal scowl of the Zelensky junta, you will not be able to do. Madam President, the issue of cooperation with Pyongyang, on this our position is open. DPRK is a neighbor, close partner, and we're developing a relationship with many areas. Our interaction is transparent. We pay visits, sign international treaties, sign commercial contracts in various areas of bilateral interaction, and this is our sovereign right. I would like to underscore that the Russian interaction with DPRK in the military and other areas is in line with international law and is not a violation of it. It's not aimed against third countries, it's not a threat for the countries of the region or international community. And we intend to develop this cooperation in the future, and no one can prohibit us from doing that. On the 19th of June, as you know, we signed a treaty on the comprehensive strategic partnership between our country and DPRK. And this was a natural consequence of our relationship of fraternal friendship, of the fact that they reached a new high level, and of the geopolitical transformations, which, in the interest of mutually beneficial relationship, need to have a quality update in its legal basis. The treaty is not a secret, it's published. It states the basic principles for the further development of our links. They're aimed at deepening the partnership and strategic cooperation on a wide spectrum of priority areas, on building a fair international system. And you can all see that for yourself when you read the text. Therefore, there are no reasons other than directives coming from our Western colleagues to present our cooperation as a threat for anyone. Madam President, we can see the Western spectacle in the Security Council today pursuing another goal. The Zelensky regime and collaborators are for 2 years have been trying to compel the Republic of Korea to more actively cooperate with the Kiev regime and to have them provide and supply the much-needed lethal weapons. And here, the anti-Pyongyang frenzied rhetoric is very convenient for Washington, London, Brussels, because their own supplies is something that the Kiev regime has drained. We do hope that our South Korean colleagues will be wise enough not to fall for this trick. In any event, I can tell you that despite the current difficult political period, we're trying to safeguard the preconditions for the resumption of the traditional good neighborly relations between Moscow and Seoul, and we value your restraint. We're also optimistic when we see the public opinion surveys in your country. They show that the absolute majority of people in the Republic of Korea do not wish to become involved in the Ukrainian conflict. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation.
Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it.
Welcome. If you like the content I produce in this channel, please like, comment and share. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more news on geopolitics.